Ja, de prachtige lieder. Welcome back, welkom terug. It's not that sunny outside, I saw, so feel sunny here within Fiji at Pink for part 2 of Pink. And we're going to start with the youngest speaker of today. He's only 19 years old. He's from the southern part of Germany, a small village near München. And usually men in Holland then say, oh, do you know Arjen Robben? But he's not into soccer, which is okay. You're into something far more interesting, which is social media. He's going to tell us all about how to use social media. And even introducing you makes me feel old. I have 3 kids who always tell me how to use my smartphone or iPad. And when we're watching TV, and I'm still watching programs. If it starts at 7, I want to watch it at 7. That's you're going to tell me I'm an old man. But and they watch TV, they watch their iPhone, play a game on their iPad. So that's probably your world. And I'm very hungry actually to listen to you. My kids are not here, so everything I learned from you, Philipp, is news for me. So give him a big applause from Germany, Philipp Riederle.
Hi, what a pleasure to be here today. What I'm going to talk about is not especially smartphones and digital media and this stuff. What I'm going to talk about is my generation, the Generation Y, which now slowly is entering the workforce. And if you have read some newspapers, some magazines over the last couple of weeks or months, probably you have seen a lot of articles about our generations. All those articles say stuff like, our generation wants to work in a different way. Money is not important anymore. We want to have a purpose. And we don't want to have a dumb boss which dictates what we have to do. And on the other side, there's this old generation. The generation of my parents or the generation of the current managers, which tell stuff like, wait till you grow up. We had the same ideas and the same ideals, but wait till you have your own kids and wait till you have to feed your own kids. Then you won't ask for purpose anymore. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. Is there really a change going on between the generations? Do we really have other needs or other values concerning the work life? And when we're talking about my generation, I think, first of all, we need to talk about the environment we grew up in. And I think the most significant change that my generation experienced is the existence of digital media. And when people are talking about digital media, they usually make some kind of rocket science out of it. I think with social media, there were only 3 changes which took place, 3 fundamental changes. Because everyone in our generation always had the opportunity to first contact every guy all over the world within seconds. Second, that every one of us always had the possibility to access every existing piece of information And the third one is that every one of us always had the possibility, even without being a journalist or a media company, that every one of us always had the possibility to share his ideas, his thoughts, his visions or dreams, or even their questions with a worldwide audience. And if you wondered why I have the honor to speak here in front of you today, the reason for the invitation probably goes back to those three changes. Because I have to admit, I have always been very interested in digital technology, even when I was a young kid. And when I was 13 years old, that was in the year of 2008, Apple released the iPhone in America. And I thought that I really want to try this thing out. And then I persuaded my parents that I was allowed to import this American device from my pocket money to Germany. But then I realized that Apple locked this device in a way that it won't work in Europe, just in America. So I contacted hackers all over the world to explain me how to hack this American device that it works for me in Germany. Then after I made this thing work for me, I thought, maybe there are other people out there who are also interested in how to make this American device work here. So I borrowed my dad's video camera, just sat in front of this video camera, pressed the record button, and explained in a very easy and understandable way how to hack the iPhone. This looked like this. I brought you a little snippet out of this first episode of this podcast.
Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe meines Podcasts Mein iPhone und ich. In dieser Folge will ich euch zeigen.
You see, I grew up a little. And I uploaded it to my own website, and I didn't expect that anyone is going to watch this video. But after a couple of hours, a couple of hundred people downloaded this video. A couple of days later, a couple of thousand people watched this video. And 1 week later, more than 10,000 people watched how I hacked the iPhone. And this motivated me to keep going with the project, with the podcast, and publish on a regular basis videos about the iPhone. And 2 years later, in 2010, I published around 100 episodes, and I usually had around 150,000 people watching this podcast. In 2010, something special happened because the web hosting provider I paid by my pocket money threw me out. Because every time I published a new episode, their servers broke down. And I needed to find a way to refinance the very expensive cost of transferring this much data over the internet. And so I founded my own little production company, and I thought that a production company in the child's room looks not very professional, so I asked my grandfather if I could use his former party room in his basement. He let me do this. I built there my little studio, and since then I'm producing this podcast in TV-like HD quality for more than 150,000 people. And in the same year, in 2010, someday my telephone rang, and one business guy from a huge telecommunication company from Germany was on the telephone, and he asked me, how can you, with your 15 years, reach so many people over the internet, and why can't we? So this was my first invitation to a big company. I have to admit, I was very, very nervous, so I prepared well, and probably I did a good job because those people I spoke to recommended me to colleagues, recommended me to other companies, so that within the last 4 years, I worked with 100 to 150 large companies. I specialized on the question on my generation. I usually talk about how companies can reach our generation as customers, and on the other side, how companies can reach our generation as potential employees. And what I still can't believe is that those managers I usually talk to, that they take me serious and they pay me. And that's the first point I want to make today. I'm nothing special. I'm not the kid of rich parents. I did not go to some private school or have some scholarships or stuff. I just was interested in how to hack the iPhone. I just followed my interests. I just worked hard over the last 4 or 5 or 6 years. But just that led me to where I am now. And that's why I think the first thesis I want to tell today is that it has never been easier to follow your interest, dreams, and passion. And probably because of this, because of those new possibilities through the communication technology. But maybe probably because that we grew up another way than our parents grew up, that we grew up as the third generation after World War II, which means that we always grew up in a good kind of wealth, that our parents did raise us another way they were raised by their parents. All those different things maybe lead to that we have another view on working, that we have other values concerning the workforce. Our generation asks the question, are we working to live or are we living to work? Some people out of my generation tell things like, we don't want to find the purpose of life in the world travel after retirement. We want to find the purpose of life every day in what we're actually doing. And some research institutes are doing some very, very interesting researches about the different generations and their motivations why going to work. So they asked the generation of my parents when they were in this age why they want to go to work. And the top 3 motivations why going to work were earning a lot of money, achieving some status in society, and after working hard or working a couple of years, having some power to rule over some other employees. Those are the top 3 of the generation of my parents, why going to work. And if you have a look, and if you compare those results to the results of the same study about my generation, those top 3, money, status, and power, are now, in my generation, on the last 3 of 15. Our top 3 are doing a job in which we see a purpose, which makes our eyes go sparkling. A job in which we see some kind of self-fulfillment. A job we dream of in the night and we can't wait to do exactly this job after getting up. And this was number 1 and 2, purpose and self-fulfillment. And number 3 is doing the job in an environment which fits the task. Which means, do we really need to be at the office from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the evening, when we know we can work more efficient and more concentrated between 10 o'clock in the evening and 4 o'clock in the morning, or when we know we can work more concentrated and more creative in the park? Or another question which fits into the environment, which is very important for us, is do we really need to follow this dumb boss which more blocks progress than enabling progress? We do not accept authority just because of status, just because of someone kissed someone's feet for 30 years. We accept authority, yes. We want to learn from you, but not because of your great title. We want to learn from your knowledge and your experience, and then we accept authority, of course, but just if you're enabling progress instead of blocking it. So the second point I want to make today is that we face the workforce with totally different needs and values. And it's very interesting, if you read all those HR literature, what's on the market, there are very scientific results in how the different generations are doing different kinds of tasks. That's very, very interesting. For example, one of this is that we have a greater need for feedback than every generation before, and very interesting. But the next thing I want to talk about is what's really going on out there. What is really going on in the companies? What is really going on in society? And a couple of weeks ago, the Federal Research Center of Germany published a brand new study about the work life. And this study looks like this. 1 out of employees without any emotional attachment to their work. What do you think? How many? What do you think?
300.
1 out of 300. Any other bets? 1 out of 10? 1 out of 2. Where do you work? Okay, just kidding. So the real number is 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 people are going to work, leaving the workplace, and just doing what they absolutely have to do. And if you add to this number the number of people with low attachment, then we have 3 of 4. And earlier, when most jobs were like to put screws in a plastic bag, that was not a problem. But today, most of the working people are those kind of knowledge workers who passionately need to care about their Excel sheets, or the guys who need to think about strategy and concept papers for the future of a company. And those guys who just do what they absolutely have to do you think those guys will bring your company forward? No, they won't. And on the other hand, I think I don't have to talk a lot about this. There's the demographic change going on. In 10 years, my generation will be 70% of all the working people within 10 years. And that's the third point I want to make today. Companies have a desperately need of highly engaged and motivated talents. And when we bring all those 3 points together, we see that we always had the opportunities and possibilities to follow our dreams, to follow what really interests us, and maybe really earn money with our interests, with our dreams. I think in front of you, I don't have to talk about crowdfunding and this stuff. The second one is that we have different needs and values. And if companies, which desperately need our generation, do not follow those needs, those values, if they don't meet our expectations, we won't come to them. We'll build, like in number 1, we'll build up our own business, or we'll go to those companies which already recognize that there's a change going on. In my work, I see that some companies already recognize there's a change going on, and they're rebuilding their structures completely new. And they see that those new kind of working is not just good for the young generation. Also, the generation 50 plus loves this new kind of working. And on the other hand, there are those companies who don't or didn't recognize the change yet. And yeah. So, when you want to get in touch with our generation, or if you want that we work for or with you, be curious, get involved, break down barriers in your head and in the structures, and most important, don't be scared. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Yes. You made our life, we changed the purpose of our life after your talk. Okay? Okay. Thank you very much. Lava. Ik weet niet wie er in de zaal zit van ons designbureau, maar Lisa in ieder geval. En zij heeft de vormgeving dit jaar voor Pink van de rekening genomen. Zoals elk jaar is de kleur groen en het logo, die blijven gehandhaafd en de rest mag ze zelf doen. En elke keer zijn we weer verrast wat er gebeurt. We zijn dan ook altijd heel blij dat Hans Wolbers, de founder and the creative director and the father of Lava, is able to surprise us every year. Bas van Lier. Toen Peter en ik nog een uitgeverij hadden, schreef Bas al jubileumboeken voor ons. Toen we dan ook 15 jaar geleden met Pink begonnen, zei Bas meteen: schrijven is mijn vak, laat mij nou maar de teksten over de sprekers schrijven die jullie op de website en in het programmaboekje zetten. De ene keer krijgt Bas zo'n pak papier van mij met alles over een spreker en de andere keer 1 velletje. En elke keer maakt hij er weer iets supers van. De kippen. Zonder communicatie is het onmogelijk om de wereld over Pink te vertellen. Al 5 jaar helpen Robin Teel en Franke Klaus ons daarmee. En elke keer gaan we weer enthousiast naar huis als we samen hebben gezeten, hoe we weer verder gaan. Van den Berg. Meedenken. Dat ene telefoontje van Imre over een pagina die volgens hem niet helemaal klopt. Op tijd leveren, eerlijk zijn. Al die elementen heb je nodig als je samen iets maakt. En Van den Berg heeft dat. Zij maken al jaren de programmaboekjes en posters. Dat geeft ons een rustig gevoel. Zonder papier kun je niet drukken. En ook Vincent Keunig van Paper Today is al jaren van de partij. Hij kijkt wat er in de collectie zit op dat moment en we zoeken iets moois uit. Iedereen in de zaal snapt dat ik blij ben met deze supporters. Later I will ask for a big applause, but now first the next speaker. Before, some time ago, we went to Paris. I read an article about the Museum of Everything. A very unusual website. I could not really figure out what it was. So it has to do something with art and temporarily. So we went to Boulevard Raspail, discovered an old classic seminary and lots of red arrows to show us the way. As a proof, I got my button, the Museum of Everything, as an entrance. And we had to climb lots of stairs on the outside, and when you finally came in, it was fantastic. So here's the founder and the creator of the Museum of Everything, James Brad.